The Neridian ship drifted silently through space, its crystalline structure glinting against the backdrop of distant stars. Ambassador Tahoe Parks stood on the observation deck, his usually calm demeanor replaced with growing desperation. "It's been 3 cycles since we sent the distress call," he said to his aide. "The Vex Armada will reach the colony within hours." The communications officer called out suddenly, "Ambassador, we're receiving a response." The view screen activated, revealing a human woman with short black hair and determined eyes. "This is Captain Ju Kim of the Earth Confederation ship Thunderbolt. We've received your distress call and are en route to your position." Tahoe couldn't hide his surprise. "Captain Kim, we appreciate your response, but you should know the Vex fleet outnumbers any single vessel. This is not your conflict." Captain Kim's expression remained steady. "Ambassador, humans have a long tradition of answering calls for help, regardless of the odds. We're sending in our most dangerous personnel." "Your most lethal warriors?" Tahoe asked. "Not exactly," Captain Kim replied with a slight smile, "but in their own way the deadliest humans we have." Tahoe turned to his aide, Minji, who stood nearby with a worried look. The Neridians were not fighters. Their species had evolved as peaceful explorers, their bodies more suited to science than combat. The crystalline ships they built reflected their culture: beautiful, transparent, and tragically vulnerable. "Captain Kim, the Vex Armada has 20 warships," Tahoe explained. "They've already started bombing our main colony on Nerid 6. Over 10,000 of my people are trapped there." Kim nodded gravely. "We understand the situation. The Thunderbolt will arrive in 6 hours. We're pushing our engines beyond safe limits." Minji stepped forward. "1 ship against 20. This is suicide, Captain." "Perhaps," Kim admitted, "but we can't ignore your call. No human could." The transmission ended, and Tahoe stared at the blank screen. He had studied humans extensively but never fully understood them. Their reputation across the galaxy was mixed. Some species feared them as unpredictable and dangerous. Others sought them as allies precisely because of that unpredictability. "Do you believe they can help us?" Minji asked quietly. "I don't know," Tahoe replied honestly. "But right now, they're the only ones who answered our call." 6 hours later, the Thunderbolt arrived at the edge of the Neridian system. The sleek Earth vessel was impressive, but clearly outmatched by the Vex fleet visible on the long-range scanners. Tahoe's ship moved alongside the human vessel. "Ambassador Park," Captain Kim said when the communication channel opened again. "We're preparing our rescue team now. We request permission to dock with your ship." "Of course," Tahoe said. "But I must ask again, what do you hope to accomplish against such odds?" "Our mission isn't to defeat the Vex," Kim explained. "It's to save as many of your people as possible from the colony." Tahoe frowned. "But the colony is under heavy bombardment. No one can land there safely." "That's exactly why we brought our special team," Kim said. "May I come aboard to explain our plan? It would be easier in person." 30 minutes later, Tahoe stood in his ship's docking bay as Captain Kim stepped through the airlock. She was shorter than he expected, but moved with quiet confidence. Behind her came 4 more humans, each carrying specialized equipment. "Ambassador Park," Kim bowed slightly. "Thank you for allowing us on board. This is my rescue team." Tahoe looked at the humans with curiosity. They didn't look like warriors. They wore no armor, carried no visible weapons. Their uniforms were practical but not military. "These are your deadliest humans?" he asked, trying to hide his disappointment. "Yes," Kim said proudly. "Let me introduce you. This is Dongman, our chief medical officer and trauma specialist. He's pulled people back from death hundreds of times in conditions most would consider impossible." A calm-looking man with steady hands nodded politely. "This is Jihai, our search and rescue expert. She can find survivors in collapsed buildings, underwater, or in any hostile environment you can imagine." A strong-looking woman with determined eyes smiled briefly. Young-Soo is our fire and hazard containment specialist. He's survived conditions that would kill most humans and saved countless lives in the process. A stocky man with burn scars visible on his hands bowed. And finally, Hana, our evacuation coordinator and crisis manager. She's organized emergency evacuations during natural disasters that saved millions. A sharp-eyed woman with short hair nodded respectfully. Tahoe stared at them all, confused. But they're not soldiers. No, Kim agreed. There's something far more valuable. On Earth, these people are the ones who run toward disasters when everyone else runs away. They go into burning buildings, collapse zones, flood waters, and disaster areas to save lives. But the Vex are actively bombing the colony, Tahoe protested. This isn't a natural disaster. The principles are the same, Dongmin spoke up. Hazardous conditions, trapped civilians, limited time. We've trained for this. Ji stepped forward with a holographic map. We've analyzed the colony layout and Vex attack patterns. They're systematic and predictable. We can work between their bombing runs. My team can deploy fire suppression systems to create safe corridors, Young-Soo added. And I've designed evacuation routes based on the colony's transport systems, Hana finished. Tahoe looked at them all, beginning to understand. You're not going to fight the Vex at all, are you? That's not our mission, Kim confirmed. Our mission is to save your people. The most dangerous human isn't the one who kills effectively, Jihai said quietly. It's the one who will risk everything to save others. For the first time in days, Tahoe felt a flicker of hope. These humans were not what he expected, but perhaps they were exactly what his people needed. The Thunderbolt will create a diversion, Kim explained. While we deploy the rescue team in stealth shuttles to the surface, we don't need to win against the Vex. We just need to save your people. When do we start? Tahoe asked. Kim smiled. We already have. Our shuttles are being prepared now. Ambassador, if you're willing, we could use your knowledge of the colony. Tahoe nodded. For the first time, he truly understood why some species sought humans as allies. It wasn't their weapons or technology that made them special. It was their relentless drive to help others, even at terrible risk to themselves. I'm ready, he said. The Thunderbolt's shuttle bay buzzed with activity as Captain Kim briefed Tahoe on the rescue team. This is our team leader, Dr. Minju Kang, one of Earth's most accomplished trauma surgeons, Kim said, indicating a woman checking medical supplies. Tahoe blinked in confusion. Hey, doctor. And there's Hyamu Lee, our search and rescue specialist, Kim continued, pointing to a stocky man testing scanning equipment. A tall woman approached, carrying firefighting gear. Sumi Choi, fire control expert. And that's Junho Ryu, our crisis negotiator. Tahoe stared at the four humans in bewilderment. Captain Kim, I don't understand. We expected soldiers, combat specialists. Ambassador, these people routinely go where others flee, Kim explained. They run into burning buildings, dive into raging floods, and enter collapsed structures when everyone else is running out. As they approached the shuttle, Tahoe watched the team don specialized equipment adapted for space rescue. They may not be warriors, Kim said quietly, but there's no one more dangerous than humans who have devoted their lives to saving others, no matter the cost. Tahoe circled the group slowly, his crystalline eyes reflecting their busy movements. Dr. Minju Kang was organizing compact medical devices that folded out into full surgical stations. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, never wasting emotion. Our colony's atmosphere is rich in nitrogen, Tahoe pointed out. Will that affect your medical equipment? Dr. Kang looked up. We've adjusted all our tools for your environment. I studied Neridian physiology extensively since receiving your distress call. She held up a small device. This can stabilize your people's unique cardiovascular system even under extreme trauma. Nearby, Hyunwoo Lee calibrated a scanning device strapped to his forearm. Tahoe approached him cautiously. What does that do? The ambassador asked. It detects life signs through up to 20 meters of rubble. Hanwoo explained. It can distinguish between different species and even estimate injury severity. He tapped another device on his belt. And this can project structural integrity of damaged buildings. Tells me exactly where I can safely move and which paths might collapse. Sumni Choi was loading what looked like metallic spheres into a backpack. When she caught Tahoe staring, she smiled and held one out. Fire suppression grenades, she explained. They release a compound that instantly absorbs heat and starves flames of oxygen. Won't harm Neridian biology. We checked. You prepared all this in just 6 hours? Tahoe asked, amazed. We maintain ready kits for every known spacefaring species, Junho Ryu said, joining them. The crisis negotiator was reviewing colony maps on a tablet. It's standard procedure for all Earth rescue vessels. Captain Kim gestured toward the shuttle. It was small and sleek, with no weapons visible. The Nightingale is designed for stealth and rapid deployment. Heat-absorbing exterior, silent propulsion. The Vex scanners shouldn't detect it among the debris they've already created. Tahoe watched as crew members loaded supplies. How many people can it transport? It's not designed for mass evacuation, Kim admitted. It's for inserting the team. They'll establish safe zones and evacuation routes, then coordinate with larger vessels. What larger vessels? Tahoe asked. You have only one ship. Kim smiled. We've sent out calls to every Earth ship in the sector. 3 merchant vessels and a mining support ship have already responded. They're rerouting to assist. Civilian ships. Tahoe couldn't hide his surprise. Against the Vex. They won't engage in combat, Kim explained. But they can dock at the outer colony platforms after our team secures them, then transport survivors to safety. Dr. Kang approached, now wearing a form-fitting suit with reinforced joints and various medical tools attached to utility belts. A helmet hung from her hand. These suits are amazing, Tahoe remarked. They look almost like armor. They're not designed for combat, Dr. Kang clarified. They're rescue suits. The material can withstand extreme temperatures, shield against radiation, and provide oxygen for up to 12 hours. The exoskeletal frame helps us carry injured people or move debris. Hyunwoo was now fitting specialized gloves that extended up his forearms. These enhance grip strength and protect against sharp objects, he explained when he noticed Tahoe's interest. I can lift up to 4 times my body weight with them. Sunmi had attached what looked like thin water tanks to her back. Concentrated fire suppressant, she said. And this, she pointed to a mask, filters smoke and toxic gases. Junho's equipment was less obvious. He carried several small devices that attached to his collar. Universal translators, he explained. And these provide real-time colony status updates. I need to coordinate everyone, both rescue workers and survivors. Tahoe felt suddenly ashamed. When Captain Kim said she was sending her most dangerous personnel, I truly expected warriors. Junho smiled. In many ways, Ambassador, saving lives in disaster zones requires more courage than taking them in battle. Your colony is currently experiencing structural fires in the northern quadrant, Sunmi said, checking her tablet. The Vex bombardment has damaged atmospheric regulators, so oxygen levels are fluctuating dangerously. 3 residential towers have collapsed, Hanwoo added, and the central medical facility is operating on emergency power. Dr. Kang nodded. We'll establish trade centers in each district. Junho will coordinate evacuation priorities based on medical assessments and structural safety reports. Tahoe was amazed by their calm efficiency. You speak as if this is routine. For us, it is, Dr. Kang said simply. Captain Kim checked her watch. The next Vex bombing run is scheduled to hit the southern industrial sector in 40 minutes. That gives us a window to insert the team into the northern residential area. I'm coming with you, Tahoe announced suddenly. The humans exchanged glances. Ambassador, with all due respect, this mission will be extremely dangerous, Captain Kim said. We can't guarantee your safety. These are my people, Tahoe replied firmly. I know the colony layout better than any map. I know our emergency protocols and where survival supplies are stored. You need me. Dr. Kang studied him carefully, then nodded. He's right. Local knowledge could make the difference. Can you handle the physical demands? Hyunwoo asked bluntly. We'll be moving fast through dangerous areas. Neridians are stronger than we look, Tahoe said. And I was a colony administrator before becoming ambassador. I'm familiar with emergency operations. Captain Kim considered this, then nodded. Very well. Sunmi, get the ambassador fitted with a protective suit. As Sunmi led him to the equipment locker, Tahoe overheard Dr. Kang speaking quietly to Captain Kim. We're looking at potentially thousands of casualties, the doctor said. Even with our equipment, we can only do so much. I know, Kim replied. But so much is better than nothing. That's why we answered the call. Sunmi helped Tahoe into a human rescue suit, modified hastily for his different body structure. The material felt strange against his crystalline skin, but it was surprisingly comfortable. There, Sunmi said, sealing the final connection. Not perfect, but it will keep you alive. As the team made final preparations, Tahoe realized something profound. The humans weren't going to his colony to fight. They weren't going to win. They were going simply because people needed help, even knowing they might not return. That, he understood now, was what made them dangerous. Not their capacity for violence, but their absolute refusal to abandon others in need, regardless of the cost to themselves. The shuttle's engines hummed to life as Captain Kim gave final instructions. Remember, she said, you're not there to engage the Vex. Your mission is to save lives. Nothing else matters. The team nodded solemnly as they boarded the shuttle. Tahoe took his seat among them, no longer confused about why humans called these their deadliest people. The Neridian colony was chaos. Buildings crumbled under Vex bombardment, and fires raged through the central districts. The human team moved with surprising coordination as they disembarked from their stealth shuttle. Sunmi, establish fire containment in sectors 3 through 7, Minju ordered. Hyunwoo, begin search patterns at the residential hub. Shunho, coordinate with any local authorities still functioning. Tahoe, who had insisted on accompanying them, watched in astonishment as the humans moved purposefully into the danger. Sunmi deployed drones that released fire-suppressing aerosols, creating safe passages through the inferno. Hyunwoo's scanning equipment detected life signs beneath rubble, and he effortlessly shifted debris that should have required machinery. Minju established a field hospital in the colony's central plaza, her hand steady as she treated Neridian injuries with equipment adapted on the fly. Why are they focusing on the eastern quadrant? Tahoe asked, watching Hyunwoo redirect his team. The Vex forces are concentrated in the west. Because there are more survivors in the east, Junho explained simply. We're not here to fight the Vex. We're here to save your people. In that moment, Tahoe began to understand. The sky above them flashed with explosions as the Vex continued their attack. The colony, once a beautiful example of Neridian architecture with its crystal spires and flowing water gardens, now burned. Smoke filled the air, and the sound of distant screams mixed with the rumble of falling buildings. Tahoe followed Junho through streets he barely recognized. Every few minutes, the ground shook from another Vex bombardment. The humans seemed to know exactly when to take cover and when to move. How do you stay so calm? Tahoe asked as they ducked behind a fallen wall during a particularly close explosion. Junho checked a device on his wrist. Training and experience. On Earth, I worked in zones hit by earthquakes, floods, and war. He pointed to a map on his device. We have 3 minutes until the next bombing run. Then a 7-minute window to move. Ahead of them, Sunmi stood before a wall of flames that blocked the entrance to a residential tower. She lifted her arms, and 4 small drones flew from her backpack, spraying a white mist into the fire. The flames died instantly, creating a path. Go now, she called out. This won't last long. Tahoe followed Junho through the cleared path. Inside, they found a group of Neridians huddled in the building's central area. The crystalline beings glowed dimly, a sign of their distress. "I am Ambassador Park," Tahoe announced. "These humans are here to help. Follow their instructions." An older Neridian stepped forward. "The upper levels are blocked. Many are trapped." Junho immediately activated his communicator. "Hyunwoo, we need you at the eastern residential tower. Multiple trapped on upper levels." "On my way," came the response. Minutes later, Hyunwoo arrived, carrying equipment that looked too heavy for one person. He quickly scanned the building. "Structure is unstable, but will hold for about 20 minutes, he reported. "I'm detecting 17 life signs above us." Without waiting for a response, he began to climb, using tools that cut through debris and braced failing supports. Tahoe watched in amazement as Hyunwoo created a path upward, moving with a speed and confidence that seemed impossible in the dangerous conditions. Meanwhile, Junho organized the Neridians already found. "We'll move in groups of 10 to the medical station. Follow the marked path exactly." Sumney's drones had left a trail of blue light showing the safest route through the burning streets to Minju's field hospital. "What about the others still trapped?" a young Neridian asked. "Hyunwoo will bring them," Junho assured her. "No one gets left behind." The ground shook again, harder this time. Pieces of ceiling fell around them. "We need to move now," Junho urged, herding the group toward the exit. Outside, the situation had worsened. A Vex ship flew low overhead, dropping new explosives. Sumney stood in the open street, seemingly unconcerned about the danger. She threw small devices into the air that intercepted several falling bombs, neutralizing them in midair. "Fire suppression grenades work on plasma charges too," she explained with a grim smile when she saw Tahoe's shocked expression. "Learned that during the Mars colony riots." They guided the first group of survivors through the burning streets. Twice they had to stop and take cover as buildings collapsed nearby. When they finally reached the central plaza, Tahoe was stunned by what Minju had accomplished. The human doctor had transformed the plaza into an organized medical center. Injured Neridians lay in neat rows, covered with special thermal blankets designed for their biology. Minju moved between them with incredible speed, her hand sometimes treating 2 patients at once. "How many?" Junho asked as they arrived with the new group. 87 so far," Minju replied without looking up from the wound she was sealing. 23 critical but stable. No losses yet." A small drone arrived, hovering near Junho. "Message from Hyunwoo," it announced in his voice. "First group of trapped survivors coming down now. Need support at the tower." "I'll go," Sumney volunteered. "My drones can maintain the safe corridors without me for a while." As she left, another explosion rocked the colony. This one was closer than the others. "The Vex are changing their pattern," Junho noted, checking his device. "They're targeting the central district now." "But that's where we are," Tahoe said, alarmed. Minju finally looked up from her work. "Then we need to move these people. Junho, contact the Thunderbolt. See if they can get one of those merchant ships to the southern loading docks." Junho nodded and stepped aside to make the call. Tahoe knelt beside Minju as she continued working. "How do you know what to do for my people?" he asked, watching her apply a gel that matched the exact color of meridian tissue. "I studied xenobiology," she explained, her hands never stopping. "But honestly, living beings are more alike than different when it comes to trauma. Pain is pain. Bleeding is bleeding." She looked up at him. "The details change, but the principles don't." A loud crash came from a nearby building. Hyunwoo emerged from the dust, carrying 3 young Neridians in his arms. Behind him, a group of adults followed, helping each other along the path he had created. "Building won't last much longer," he reported, "but everyone's out now." Junho returned with news. "The mining support ship Dauntless can reach the southern docks in 20 minutes. They got room for 400. Minju nodded. We'll send the most critical cases first, then families with children. As they organized the evacuation, Tahoe realized something remarkable. The humans never argued or hesitated. Each seemed to know exactly what the others needed without being told. They moved as a single unit despite performing completely different tasks. Good news, Junho announced, checking his device again. 2 more Earth ships have arrived in the system. The Thunderbolt is coordinating with them now. Another explosion hit, this one close enough to throw debris into the plaza. Minju instantly threw herself over her patients, using her body as a shield. Hanmu pulled a support beam away just before it could crush a group of survivors. When the dust settled, Tahoe saw blood running down Minju's arm where she had been hit by flying debris. She ignored it completely, continuing to treat her patients. "You're injured," he pointed out. She glanced at her arm. "It's minor. I'll deal with it later." In that moment, Tahoe truly understood what Captain Kim had meant. These humans were indeed dangerous, not because they could kill effectively, but because nothing, not even their own safety, would stop them from saving others. "The path to the southern docks is secure," Sunny reported as she returned. "My drones are monitoring Vex movements. We have about 30 minutes before they target that area." "Then let's move," Minju ordered. "Hyunwoo, take point. Sunny, rear guard. Junho, coordinate the groups." As they began the evacuation, moving carefully through the burning colony, Tahoe looked back at the plaza where Minju had saved so many lives. It was now being consumed by flames, yet somehow he felt more hope than he had since the attack began. The situation deteriorated when a Vex patrol cornered the rescue team and several dozen Neridian civilians in a damaged community center. "Surrender and the aliens will be processed humanely," the Vex commander announced through a translator. Minju stepped forward. "We're unarmed medical personnel conducting evacuations under interstellar humanitarian law." The Vex raised their weapons, unmoved. Suddenly, Sunny activated her fire suppression system, filling the area with dense fog. Kanmu used rescue equipment to create a barricade, while Juno calmly directed terrified civilians toward an escape route. When a section of ceiling collapsed, trapping several Neridian children, Hyunwoo didn't hesitate. He rushed into the unstable area, using his body to shield the children as he freed them one by one. A wounded Vex soldier was brought to Minju's makeshift medical station. Without hesitation, she began treatment, working with the same intense focus she showed with Meridian patients. "Why save your enemy?" Tahoe asked, bewildered. "Because that's what we do," Minju replied without looking up from her work. "We save lives. All lives." The remaining Vex soldiers lowered their weapons, suddenly uncertain. The community center had once been a place of gathering and celebration for the colony. Now its beautiful crystal walls were cracked, and its ceiling threatened to fall at any moment. The Neridians huddled together in fear, their bodies glowing dimly in distress. Some were injured, their crystalline forms showing cracks and breaks. The Vex patrol had arrived suddenly, blocking the main exit just as the humans were preparing to move the civilians to the southern docks. 8 Vex soldiers in heavy armor stood with weapons ready. Their insect-like forms made them look more machine than living creature. The fog from Sumney's suppression system filled the room quickly. It was cool and dense, making it hard for the Vex to see clearly. In the confusion, Hyunwoo moved with amazing speed. He flipped tables and pulled down metal support beams, creating a wall between the Vex and the civilians. "This way," Juno called quietly, guiding small groups of Neridians toward a side exit. "Move calmly. Stay low." The Vex fired their weapons blindly into the fog. Energy blasts hit the walls and ceiling, causing more damage. A loud crack echoed through the room as part of the ceiling broke free. Tahoe watched in horror as the heavy section of ceiling fell toward a group of Neridian children. But before it could crush them, Hyunwoo was there. He positioned himself above the children and caught the falling debris on his back. The rescue suit took most of the impact, but Tahoe could see that the human was in pain. "Go," Hyunwoo shouted to the children. "Crawl out." One by one, the small Neridians escaped from under the debris as Hyunwoo held it up. When the last child was safe, he carefully lowered the heavy piece and rolled away just before more debris fell. The Vex continued to fire randomly, making the situation more dangerous. A blast hit one of their own soldiers, sending the Vex crashing into a wall. The soldier lay motionless, green fluid leaking from its damaged armor. Minju saw the injured Vex and moved toward it without hesitation. "What are you doing?" Tahoe grabbed her arm. "That's the enemy." "That's a patient," she corrected, pulling free and continuing toward the fallen Vex. As the fog began to clear, the Vex commander saw Minju kneeling beside their injured comrade. The commander raised a weapon, but paused when he saw what she was doing. Minju had opened the Vex soldier's armor and was working quickly to stop the bleeding. Her hands moved with precision as she applied medical gel to the wound. "The arterial tube is damaged," she said loudly, as if teaching. In Vex biology, this is similar to a major blood vessel in humans or the flow channels in Neridians. The Vex commander took a step closer, weapon still raised, but no longer aimed directly at Minju. "Why?" the commander asked, the translator making the words sound flat and mechanical. "He'll die without immediate treatment," Minju replied simply, continuing her work. Shunho had managed to get most of the civilians out through the side exit. Only a few remained, including Tahoe, who couldn't look away from the strange scene unfolding before him. Hyunwoo approached the Vex commander slowly, his hands empty and visible. "We're not combatants," he said. "We're a rescue team. That's all." The Vex commander seemed confused. The other Vex soldiers looked to their leader, unsure what to do in this unexpected situation. "You are human," the commander stated. "Humans are warriors." "Some are," Hyunwoo agreed. "But not all. Some of us build instead of destroy. Some heal instead of harm." He gestured to Minju. "Some save lives." Minju had stabilized the injured Vex soldier, who was now conscious again. She helped him sit up slowly. "You should rest for at least one cycle," she told him. "The wound will heal, but the tissue needs time to regenerate." The injured Vex looked at her with compound eyes that reflected confusion. "You are enemy," he said weakly. "No," Minju replied. "I'm a doctor." The ceiling creaked ominously above them. Chunks of crystal and metal began to fall. "This structure is failing," Hyunwoo announced. "We need to evacuate. Everyone." The Vex commander looked up, then at the injured soldier, then at Minju. After a moment, the commander lowered his weapon completely. "We will assist," the commander decided. Two Vex soldiers moved to help their injured comrade. Together, humans, Neridians, and Vex evacuated the collapsing building. Outside, they watched as the community center finally gave way, crumbling into a pile of broken crystal and metal. Sumi checked her monitoring device. "The Dauntless has docked at the southern port," she reported. "They're ready to receive evacuees." Shunho nodded. "We should move quickly. The Thunderbolt reports that the main Vex fleet is repositioning." The Vex commander's communication device buzzed. After listening for a moment, the commander turned to the humans. "Our orders are to capture all Neridians and eliminate resistance," the commander stated. Tahoe tensed, expecting the brief peace to end. But the Vex commander continued. "However, there appears to be a malfunction in our communication system. We are unable to receive new orders for the next 2 hours." Minju looked at the Vex commander with understanding. "That's unfortunate. Perhaps your squad should conduct a thorough check of the southern district during that time." "Yes," the commander agreed. "The southern district requires inspection, far from the evacuation port." The injured Vex soldier spoke up. "I must report to medical facility." "Of course," Minju said. "I can provide additional treatment if you come with us to the dock." The Vex commander nodded. "We will escort this medical team and their patients to ensure their safety. And so the strange procession moved through the burning colony, humans leading, Neridian civilians in the middle, and Vex soldiers guarding the rear. To anyone watching, it might have looked like a capture, but Tahoe knew better. At the southern dock, the Dauntless waited. Its captain, a weathered human woman, showed no surprise at the mixed group that approached. "We've got room for everyone," she announced. "Wounded first, then children, then adults." As the Neridians boarded, the Vex commander approached Minju. "Our malfunction will be corrected soon. Other Vex forces will not understand what has happened here." Minju nodded. "Then you should go before they discover your malfunction." The injured Vex soldier hesitated. "Why did you save me?" "Because that's what humans like us do," Minju answered. "We don't choose who deserves to be saved. We just save everyone we can." The Vex soldiers departed, moving quickly into the ruins of the colony. Taiho watched them go, still trying to process what he had witnessed. "I don't understand," he admitted to Minju as they boarded the Dauntless. "You risked everything to save an enemy who would have killed you moments before." Minju smiled tiredly. "That's the human element, Ambassador. At our best, we value life above all else, even the lives of those who consider us enemies." As the Dauntless pulled away from the dock, carrying hundreds of rescued Neridians to safety, Taiho looked back at the burning colony. For the first time, he understood what truly made humans dangerous. Not their capacity for violence, but their stubborn refusal to let anyone die if they could prevent it, even at the cost of their own safety. 3 days later, the Thunderbolt orbited the Neridian homeworld. Over 800 colonists had been evacuated before the Vex could complete their assault. In the ship's conference room, the Neridian High Council met with Captain Kim and her team. "We misunderstood your message, Captain," the Elder Counselor admitted. "When you said you were sending your deadliest humans, we expected warriors." "By our standards, they are," Kim replied. "On Earth, these professions face death daily, not for glory or conquest, but to pull others back from the brink." Minju, still treating patients in the ship's medical bay, had worked for 60 hours straight. Him, whose arms were bandaged from burns sustained during the rescues. Sumni and Juno were planning evacuation protocols for other vulnerable colonies. The communication system chimed, and everyone fell silent as the Vex Supreme Commander appeared on screen. "We have observed your rescue efforts," the commander stated. "Our understanding of humans was incomplete. We request a temporary cessation of hostilities to discuss terms." Later, as the diplomatic talks began, Taiho found Minju in the medical bay. "Your people have changed everything," he said. "The Vex have never requested negotiations before." Minju smiled tiredly. "Sometimes the deadliest weapon is compassion, Ambassador. It's the one thing no enemy expects." Within months, the first Interstellar Emergency Response Corps was established, with humans and Neridians serving side by side. Their insignia depicted a human hand reaching out against the backdrop of stars, with the motto, "The deadliest force in the universe is the will to save others." The end. The Neridian homeworld glowed like a blue jewel against the blackness of space. Its crystal cities sparkled in the light of the system's twin suns. In orbit above, 5 human ships formed a protective ring. The Thunderbolt was at the center, its sleek form now showing signs of damage from the battle of the colony. In the main conference room, Captain Kim stood before the gathered Neridian High Council. The council members sat in a half-circle, their crystalline bodies reflecting light in a rainbow of colors. Taiho stood to one side, proudly wearing his new title, First Ambassador to Human Space. 812 survivors, Captain Kim reported. All now safely returned to your homeworld. The Elder Counselor, her form glowing a deep blue with age, leaned forward. "From a colony of 1,000, you saved over 80% of our people, Captain. We had not thought such a thing possible once the Vex began their attack." Tahoe nodded in agreement. In all previous Vex assaults, Survival rates were never above 20%. They are thorough in their work. We simply did what we could, Kim said modestly. She gestured to the screens showing the rescue team at work in various parts of the ship. The real heroes are my crew members. On one screen, Minju moved between beds in the medical bay, checking on patients. Her face showed extreme tiredness, but her hands remained steady. She had not slept in 3 days, taking only short breaks to eat and drink. Another screen showed Hyunwoo in the cargo bay, helping Neridian children adjust to their temporary home. His arms were wrapped in bandages from wrist to shoulder where he had been burned pulling a family from a fire. Sunny and Juno were visible on a third screen, working with Neridian officials to develop evacuation plans for other colonies that might face Vex attacks. When you said you were sending your most dangerous humans, the Elder Counselor said, we assumed they would be warriors. Soldiers, perhaps special forces. By human standards, they are our most dangerous people, Kim explained. Not because they take lives, but because they will risk anything to save them. A young counselor spoke up, but surely military personnel would have been more effective against the Vex. No, Tahoe interrupted firmly. I saw what happened. Soldiers fight enemies. These humans saved everyone, including the Vex. Before the council could respond, the communication system chimed. The large view screen on the wall activated, showing an image that made the counselors shift nervously. The Vex Supreme Commander appeared on screen. Unlike the soldiers Tahoe had seen on the colony, this Vex was larger, with more complex armor and a deeper green coloration. The insect-like face revealed no emotion, but the voice through the translator seemed different from the flat tones Tahoe had heard before. Greetings, Neridian Council. Greetings, human captain. The Supreme Commander's compound eyes seemed to study them all carefully. We have observed your rescue efforts at the colony. The room was completely silent. No one had expected direct communication from the Vex leadership. Our understanding of humans was incomplete, the commander continued. Previous encounters led us to classify your species as aggressive warriors. The actions of your rescue team have contradicted this classification. Captain Kim stepped forward. Supreme Commander, humans are complex. We can be warriors when needed, but many of us choose different paths. So we have observed, the commander agreed. Your medical officer treated an injured Vex soldier with the same care given to your allies. This behavior requires reconsideration of our approach. The commander paused, and Tahoe held his breath. The Vex had never negotiated with any species before. They simply took what they wanted. We request a temporary cessation of hostilities to discuss terms, the Supreme Commander finally stated. We believe there may be alternatives to our current conflict. After the call ended, the council room erupted in excited conversation. Tahoe slipped away quietly and made his way to the medical bay. He found Minju checking the vital signs of a young Neridian child. Despite her exhaustion, she smiled warmly at the child before moving to the next bed. Doctor, Tahoe said softly. Minju looked up, her tired eyes brightening slightly. Ambassador, how did the council meeting go? Better than anyone could have imagined, he replied. The Vex Supreme Commander has requested peace talks. Minju paused, a medical scanner still in her hand. Really? That's unexpected. The commander specifically mentioned you, Tahoe told her. Your treatment of the injured Vex soldier made an impression. Minju shook her head slightly. I was just doing my job. Any doctor would have done the same. No, Tahoe said firmly. They wouldn't. That's what I've learned about humans these past days. What you consider normal, the rest of the galaxy finds extraordinary. Later that evening, Captain Kim called the rescue team together in her private dining room. Despite their exhaustion, they gathered around the table where a simple meal had been prepared. To the deadliest humans I know, Kim said, raising a glass in toast. They all smiled tiredly, clinking their glasses together. The diplomatic team arrives tomorrow, Kim informed them. But I wanted you all to know that the Neridian High Council has requested your input on the formation of a new joint organization. Shunho looked up from his food. What kind of organization? An interspecies emergency response corps, Kim explained. Based on your team, but larger in scope. The idea is to create rapid response units that can be deployed anywhere in known space when disaster strikes. That's amazing, Sumi said softly. The Neridians are already committing resources, Kim continued. And surprisingly, the Vex have expressed interest in sending observers. Hyunwoo shook his head in wonder. All this because we just did our jobs. Sometimes, Minju said, the most revolutionary act is simply showing kindness when others expect violence. 6 months later, Taeho stood proudly on the observation deck of the newly commissioned ship Mercy. It was the first vessel of the Interstellar Emergency Response Corps, built with combined human and Neridian technology. 3 more ships were under construction, with crews being trained from 12 different species. Minju joined him at the window, now wearing the new uniform of the Corps. Simple, practical, with a patch showing a hand reaching out against a backdrop of stars. The Vex delegation arrives today, she told him. They're sending 3 of their medical specialists to train with us. I never would have believed it possible, Tahoe admitted. In all our history, no one has ever formed an alliance with the Vex. Sometimes people just need to see another way, Minju replied. Below them in the main hangar, new recruits gathered for training. Humans, Neridians, and even a few other species who had heard about the Corps and volunteered. On the wall behind them hung the official motto of the Interstellar Emergency Response Corps, written in the languages of all member species. The deadliest force in the universe is the will to save others. Minju smiled as she watched the diverse group begin their first exercises. When Captain Kim told your people she was sending her deadliest humans, she wasn't exaggerating. Love and compassion can change the universe in ways violence never could. Tahoe nodded in agreement, and that, Doctor, is why humans will always be the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and why we're all fortunate to have you as allies. The end.